Next up, please welcome to the stage. He is an ophthalmic researcher and a Science Riot vet at this point. Please welcome to the stage, Jordan Townsend.
Thank you, Leonardo. So, I'm Jordan, and I'm an ophthalmic researcher. Now, if you're thinking anything along the lines of which looks better, 1 or 2, that's optometry. Ophthalmology is more along the lines of, I'm sorry, sir, you're going blind, and there's no known cure for your condition. So, we're going to enroll you in a clinical trial, and it might help you, but it might actually make your vision a lot worse and make you go blind a lot faster. Anyway, here's Jordan to explain the whole thing. And don't forget about your copay. Now, a little disclaimer here. I work in the medical field, so all of my best jokes are HIPAA violations. So I need all of you to pretend like you're Mike Pence and this is a gay bar. And make sure nobody finds out about tonight. So, the people beginning clinical trials, we want to start with a very thorough medical history. If you've ever noticed side effects of different medications, when you see a commercial, it's like 90% of the commercial and 10% is actually what the medication does. And you might think to yourself, well, how did this ever get FDA approved if it has that many side effects? But you see, it takes thousands of people, multiple years. They're all trying these drugs before it ever gets to the consumer. And if anything happens to any one of them that you cannot conclusively show was not caused by the drug, that ends up as a side effect. So that's why things like headache, nausea, they're on everything. So we try to get around this by taking a good medical history beforehand. And the problem is, for me to know your medical history, you have to know your medical history. And it turns out, a lot of patients don't. And I find they're divided into 3 categories. There's the ones that are just ignorance. These are the most common and also the most frustrating, because you can get no information out of them whatsoever. Like, hey, do you have diabetes? I don't know. High blood pressure? I don't know. Do you take any medications? Yeah. What do you take? I don't know. Well, what's it for? I don't know. Alright, no problem. We'll just get your medical records from your doctor. Who's your doctor? Someone in Denver. You can look that up, right? Then there are the ones that, they're the denialists. They're the I'm not racist but people of the medical world. And this actually is easier because you can just write down every disease that they deny they have as part of their medical history, because they'll be like, I don't have diabetes, my blood sugar is just uncontrolled. I don't have high blood pressure, my blood pressure just gets really high every time I stop taking medication. So that works. And then there are the third type. These people typically don't trust doctors, and they're the ones I like to call batshit crazy. And no matter how you write down what they tell you, it always ends up with an hour-long conversation with a medical monitor that, yes, this patient did say that their brain is leaking out of their eyes and it's caused by a bacteria in their brain, and they know this because they went to a naturopath, and the naturopath did a test of their reflexes, and their reflexes were slightly slower than normal. Anyway, we try to keep these people out of the trial, but they always sneak in. And you think, like, after their first visit, you finally have their whole medical history down? No. They come in the next time, and you're like, hey, any changes to your health, your medications? No. I see. Well, last time you were here, you had 2 legs. Oh yeah, I had to get that one amputated. Sorry, I forgot about that. And anyway, first step involved in any clinical trial is getting an informed consent, which, for a clinical trial, we don't know if the drug will really help, we don't know if it'll really hurt, we don't know even if the person's getting the drug or a placebo. So I'm not really sure what part of it is informed.
Yeah.
However, it's very important that mainly a patient understands their rights. But this conversation is very, very awkward to have. Like, hey, we're gonna do this, we don't know if it'll help, but you might possibly go blind. And anyway, we're gonna stick a needle in your eye and hopefully it'll do something. Sign here. And look, I hear men all the time say that consent is awkward to try to get. But if I can do that and convince someone to get a needle stuck in their eye for unknown medical benefits, then they can get consent for sex. Furthermore, it's even easier to ask their age first, Jeffrey. Sad that our chief executive and 2 members of the Supreme Court don't get this. Anyway, speaking of things Republicans hate, evolution. So, here's how I know evolution is true. I have a job. And evolution only requires the human eye to work long enough so you get laid before you die. And it does a pretty good job of that for most people, myself excluded. But as far as intelligent design goes, if the eye, which is for some reason held up by a lot of creationists, is like the pinnacle of perfect design, it must have been designed by a complete idiot. So, I like to picture myself in the room when God came up with the eye. Here he is. Behold the pinnacle of my creations, the human eye. It can see anywhere from 400 to 700 nanometers. So, it can't detect the type of light that gives you cancer. You know the type of light that your primary light source produces for some reason? Well, no, but it has 3 cone types, so it can see 3 different colors. Just 3? You gave the mantis shrimp 16. Are you really saying humans are less important than the mantis shrimp? Well, you're really missing the big picture here. And what's that thing in the center of the eye? That's just going to give them a giant blind spot. Well, that's the optic nerve. And their brain's going to have to work around this big blind spot now that they can't see. Yeah, and you know, there might be further issues later. Yeah, let's talk about all the diseases you gave the eye. Like, we'll start with cataracts. You made cataracts because, once again, by the primary light source. Well, they could be removed. Yeah, and that's not going to be invented till like mid-1900s. Oh, you know, frankly, God, I think you should just start over. God? God, are you listening to me? God, what is that? Well, this is the platypus. Are you just taking leftover pieces and putting them together now? Like, what the fuck is this? You fucks up a perfectly good duck. You know, God, I think you should just give it a break and let evolution take over because you have no idea what you're doing. My name's Jordan. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.